Departing from Fallon, Nevada, near the 40-mile desert, let's take a tour of the history and geography of the area. A lot of turbulence and crosswinds, so there's going to be a lot of bouncing and banking as soon as we lift off. The excitement of light aircraft flying. The winds can be a little surprising, even 50 or 100 feet off the ground, and you've got to be ready for them. Turning crosswind to enter the downwind leg of traffic pattern. You can see the turbulence tossing us about. Not for everyone. Now we are turned north, seeing the Carson Sink. This is a 30-mile wide lake bed remnant of Pleistocene Lake Lahontan. Looking at the West Humboldt Range, which divides the Carson Sink and the Humboldt Sink. The Carson Sink is the end of the Carson River, coming from the Sierra Nevada Range. The Humboldt Sink is the end of the Humboldt River, coming across Nevada from the east. Coming up on the left is the Union Pacific Railroad. It is the cutoff made as part of the 1902 Harriman realignment of the old Central Pacific route from the Truckee route to the Carson route of the 40-mile desert. We are now running over the Carson route of the 40-mile desert to the east. The Humboldt River crossing Nevada east to west is not much of a river, but it is one of the most important rivers in American history. It made the settling of the western U.S. possible. The Mopong Hills are in the famous 1868 photo by Hart called Chinese Camp Perron Station. 10,000 workers from China built the Central Pacific Railroad from 1863 to 1869. After years of planning, the epic transcontinental railroad would not have happened without the Chinese. Immigrant labor is nothing new. From the air, one gets a real sense of the immensity of the project, all done with hand tools and animals. Turning towards the old Perron Station. At 3,880 feet, the lowest point on the Salt Lake route of the SP. This is called the High Desert. Looking west towards the Carson route of the 40-mile desert. The Hot Springs Range divides the two 40-mile deserts. Here, one of the largest human migrations in history during the 1840s and 1850s reached a decision point, which route to take. Either one was the most dangerous part of the 4-month trek. Both became the killer of men, as one pioneer said. An 1852 census counted 8,000 dead draft animals on the route. Estimates say there is one grave for every mile of this hellish place. Across the valley was the White Plains Station. It was a helper engine terminal between there and Wadsworth, Nevada. The reason for the abandonment of the old Central Pacific route was the Hot Springs grade between the two stations. turning north towards the Humboldt Bar, a 200-foot high gravel bar of Pleistocene Lake Lahontan. Ancient Lake Lahontan was really an inland sea the size of France. It was up to 800 feet deep. It started drying up at the beginning of the Holocene epoch 10,000 years ago. Though we still live in the Holocene, some experts think a new epoch, the Anthropocene, began in recent times. When there was an inland sea here, the annual mean temperature was only 5 degrees Fahrenheit lower than now. Climate change deniers don't realize how little temperature variation is needed. 5 degrees higher is in our future. Not much? Think about 5 degrees increase in body temperature. You're dead. To the left is the Southern Pacific 1903 realignment running through the 200-foot Humboldt Bar cut. The other side of the bar, where you see Humboldt Lake, was called Big Meadows. During the 1844 to 1869 immigration, here the pioneers rested and loaded up with animal feed to prepare for the awful 40-mile desert. Lovelock Indian Cave was occupied for 4,000 years, beginning 2600 BC. It and other caves were along the ancient shorelines of a lake 150 miles wide by 250 miles long, 5 degrees cooler. The old Central Pacific route ran on the edge of the valley where I-80 now goes. Coming across Highway 95, which goes between Fallon and Trinity, we're starting to see the grade of the Central Pacific coming up over the left side of the nose. Right ahead is the old White Plains Station. From there to Wadsworth was a helper district. They needed extra engines to get over the Hot Springs grade directly ahead. Interstate 80 still goes over the grade. What a hellacious place for the pioneers. I have traversed the 40-mile desert on the ground for decades, but from the air one sees the immensity. While it is approximately 40 miles, I think the pioneers, being steeped in the Bible, had the symbolic numerology of 40 in mind. 40 was the number of testing and punishment. 40 days and 40 nights. 40 appears in the Bible 98 times. This was their test. Ahead is Perron Station. It was a mighty lonely outpost on the old Southern Pacific. It was midway on a waterless 70-mile stretch between Fernley and Lovelock. Water was hauled out here 36 miles from Fernley to fill the water tank. The Central Pacific and the Southern Pacific drilled lots of wells, but like the 49ers, they only found a deadly brew that killed men, animals, and steam engines. Returning back to the irrigated part of Lahontan Valley, thanks to the Truckee and Carson River project of 1900 to 1914. An untowered airport makes all the other pilots in the area the air traffic controllers. Everybody communicates in a protocol that announces who you are, where you are, and your intentions. Turning to the downwind leg of the traffic pattern, looking at the wind indicator and listening to the automated terminal information service, getting the wind speed and direction. The Naval Air Station in the distance has a lot of fast traffic that passes right over this airport, so I have to be very alert for this too. Seeing the wind indicator, I decide to go around to the opposite runway. Looks like the sound on the GoPro quit. Oh well, silence captures the dreamlike quality of flying. Naval Air Station Fallon has one of the world's longest runways at 14,000 feet, 2.7 miles long. Busy place. Heads up. On final approach, you are in the most critical phase of flight, getting closer to the stall speed. We're fighting some increased turbulence, too, close to the ground. Sudden gusts kicking us around. A peak experience. The goal is to stall the wing so that it stops flying and the airplane drops out of the sky 1 foot off the ground. Hopefully. Flight 1020 in the logbook. On the left is Rattlesnake Hell, an underwater volcano beneath ancient Lake Lahontan, when the world was 5 degrees cooler.